to music first, always.
We are unstoppable.
Open the frontiers to make people meet people.
Music is not fireworks. Music is feeling.
You're good to go.
Thank you, vote for the music!
This is Vote for the Music, the Eurovision podcast.
Hello and welcome to Vote for the Music, the Eurovision podcast. I'm Benjamin Windybank, and today we've got a very special interview in between our usual schedule of quickfire reviews of semi-final 1 and quickfire reviews of semi-final 2, as we speak to a very special guest today. That guest is Jaakko Oleander-Turja, who is the English commentator at Finland's national final UMK and also works at Yle, their broadcaster, and UMK in general, in many other roles, including as a journalist and on their social media. So, hello, Jaakko, and welcome to Vote for the Music, the Eurovision podcast.
Thank you for having me on, Benjamin. What an honor.
So I think, to begin with, could you just tell me and the listeners what exactly you do at Yle and at UMK involving the Eurovision Song Contest and anything related to it? What exactly do you do and why are you notable?
Yes, that is probably a question most of your listeners are wondering right now. Well, I have various duties at UMK. I am the web and social media reporter. So I do a lot of our social media posts, and then we plan them together. Various campaigns like the current denim egg hunt, to mention one. And then, of course, I put a lot of stuff on Yle's site, both in Finnish and in English. And then I'm the English commentator for the UMK show, which was the 10th of February. And alongside those things, I do a bunch of other stuff. Now, of course, I work very closely with our representative, Windows 95 man, Teemu Keisteri, and Henry. So that's pretty exciting.
Yes. And of course, I and many other people did listen to your English commentary and did enjoy it immensely. It was certainly very different from most English commentaries on national finals we had.
I enjoyed it so much. You know what? And it was a very big coincidence that I even got to do it. It was, my boss asked me, there was a guy from Germany visiting the UMK office because he's a big fan of UMK and whatever. And then my boss asked me to entertain this German guy at our office for an hour or so. And then the German person came in and we started talking. And then at some point of our discussion, my boss happened to, I guess, drop in, and he overheard the conversation. He found it amusing. And then he told our main producer about it. And then a few months after, our main producer asked me to have a sit down with him. And I thought I was getting fired. And then I sat down with him. And then he just asked, Jaakko, would you like to do the English commentary for the UMK show? And I, for 20 seconds, I think I just stared at him. It probably seemed like I was having some sort of stroke. And then I just said yes a million times. And I almost hugged him. I don't think he's a big hugger, but I almost hugged him. And then I was like, Jaakko, refrain from doing that. Don't be weird. Don't make it weird. So I think we just shook hands. But but I enjoyed it so much. And the feedback, Benjamin, that I got so many messages from countries I didn't even know existed. I mean, can you place Liechtenstein on a map? I can't.
I can, but yes.
Well, of course you can. You can do everything. But I got so many messages from all over the world, and it was so much fun. So I really hope I get to do it again.
You weren't the only person at Yle at UMK doing a commentary in another language. There were a whole team of you. You were just doing the English side of it. So it really is something that you have a priority of.
Yeah, I mean, I think we covered half of the world's languages. Well, not really, but I think we had 9 or 10 languages. We had the Sami language, 2 different versions, I believe, and then we had Russian and Ukrainian and Finnish and Swedish and Russian, probably mentioned that already, but you name it, we had it, and it's a really big team that works on it. And then we actually had people from Spain, from a channel called 10 TV, who sat in the booth next to mine, and they did their commentary in Spanish for their whatever viewers in Spain. So that was kind of exciting.
Yes, I think you did mention that quite a few times during your commentary, actually. I think it took quite an interest in that.
Oh, yes, I loved it was a guy called Luis. I thought his name was Nacho, ended up not being Nacho. He's a wonderful person named Luis. Yeah, we became friends after that. I saw him at the after party, had a lot of fun. Shout out to Luis.
And what was the after party like? Take me into a UMK after party. What goes on there?
Well, there is a lot going on after the actual show ends. We were at the Nokia Arena, and there was a party going on in each of the 3 floors. And then I think there was, I was invited to Emily DeForest's lounge, which was like very high up in the Nokia Arena. So there was like a secret party I saw all kinds of people, like Finnish politicians and, elite people. And then suddenly, like, Emily DeForest. So there was this secret layer I didn't even know existed. They had a party there. But then we had, like, basically in 3 floors. And but I was at the one where the artists were, and then people from record labels and stuff like that. That was more for, like, the crew and the artists and stuff like that. But it was a lot of fun, I have to tell you. And we had a lot of things you could do at the after party, and we had like UMK karaoke, and so it was really fun.
Of course, I believe from your social media, I've noticed that UMK was not the only national final you were at this year. You were also at Melodifestivalen and the after party there.
Yes, you stalker. I was. That was a lot of fun. We went to cover. We always go abroad to cover one other, national final, and last year, I think they did the Estonian one, Eesti Laul, and this year, Melodifestivalen, because it's very interesting because the whole Eurovision is in Sweden. But yeah, this year, Melodifestivalen, and that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it quite a lot, and we got to interview the artists, and yeah, that was very exciting.
What was it you did at the after party at Melodifestivalen? Because I did see one specific photograph of you with a certain artist.
That was the best.
Yeah.
Yes, that made me jealous, didn't it? Be honest.
I think it made everyone jealous.
I think so too. Well, we got tickets to the special after party with the artists, and we were like still working because we were trying to make a video where you see how party continues even after the show ends. But yeah, we also had a good time, and then I happened to see a very shiny blue dress by the bar, and I thought that can only be one person, Gunilla Persson, and it was. And I think she was like ordering a drink, and I had a drink, and then I thought, well, it's now or never. This is my chance. So I approached her, and I said in Swedish, I was like, "Hello, I'm this person, and could I please get a photo with you?" And she was like, there were so many gays swarming around her. I think she felt claustrophobic, but I still pushed through, and I got that picture with her where I think she's dozing off before going on stage. And yeah, that was a beautiful, beautiful moment. I will cherish that forever. I'm glad I got that picture.
Yes, I mean, it's absolutely a great photograph, and I'm sure it made the whole of the trip entirely worth it.
Yeah, I would have gone just for that. That was like my highlight. I'm thinking of having it made into a painting so I can put it up on my wall in my apartment.
So if we keep on your work at Yle and at UMK, obviously you've said you have been involved a lot with the preparations for Windows 95 Man. Can you just give me a bit of insight how they are going and sort of what's happening right now?
Yeah, sure. Well, everything's going very smoothly, I have to tell you. We had a day in March where we filmed a lot of social media content, and also we're going to publish very nice YouTube videos in the future, very near future. And I actually got to direct and script one like funny YouTube video with them and Henry, which I'm really excited about. It's where they go on like a first date. It's like a joke thing, but it's very funny. So yeah, a lot of stuff like that. And then they've been prepping for the stage show. It's going to be even more amplified in Malmö when they go on stage. And then we, of course, now have the denim egg hunt in Europe. But no, Teemu and Henry, they're feeling fine. They're very happy. They're working a lot. They've been to these pre-parties. They were in Madrid. Now it's London. So it's really exciting. Then I think it's going to be, there's the Nordic whatever pre-party too. So they're very busy, but happy. And we just shot the postcard for Finland also.
Are you allowed to tell me anything about the postcards, or is that all proper top SVT secrets?
Well, I think I can say that they are, then this is my view, but I think they're kind of modern this year, very different from what you are used to seeing. And I got to direct and actually shoot the Finnish one, so I'm a little bit nervous about that. But I think they're very, very fresh this year. It's a very different approach to last year. So yeah, I think you're gonna like them.
Oh well, I'm excited to see, especially if you've been in that director's chair. I'm excited to see what we get. The previous SVT ones have been pretty much based around the artist's journey to the contest, so seeing their home and then seeing them come to the contest. Is it anything like that, or is it completely separate to that?
Well, I think there's something a little bit like a touch of that there, but most stuff we know shot in Finland, in Espoo, where he's from. And then I think they the SVT people, they're gonna shoot something in Malmö, and then they're gonna put the whole thing together. So I haven't seen like the final product yet, but it's gonna be different. But it's not like radical. It's not like, you know, you've never seen anything like this before. There are some certain features that are familiar, but mostly I think it's pretty new and fresh. Like also the way the aspect ratio, and well, you're gonna see, but it's quite exciting, I think.
Now, something I am curious about is that 9 Eurovision 2024 artists just a few weeks ago released a letter voicing their support for Palestine and a call for peace, and also a rejection of the calls to boycott the contest. Windows 95 Man was one of these artists, so could you tell me if you had any part in that? Did you facilitate that in any way? And what was the room like at Yle when this course of action was decided upon?
Our team like coordinated and facilitated discussions with Windows 95 Man, and then like at least people from Norway and stuff like that. And then it sort of took on a life of its own, and they were like in contact by themselves with these other artists. So like our team, my show producer was there in the background, but yeah, I think it's been mostly Windows 95 Man and Henry.
How long roughly did that all take to happen? Because the impression I got from reading it is that it had gone through millions of people, everyone changing something and approving something and making sure it fit, you know, the party line.
Yeah, I think because it started so early and it just came out, a few weeks ago. So I think it was like a very long process, and I think some people dropped out, and I talked with Teemu about it. And he did say it was quite a process to get the whole thing finally out there. So I'm not sure what happened like behind the scenes.
Now, of course, one of the biggest stories with Windows 95 Man is the name itself. It's Windows 95 Man. Windows 95 obviously being a trademarked brand, and on the costume you do have the Windows 95 logo all over it. But as we've seen, there are a few changes that have had to be made because of that, because it is a copyrighted brand. So, for example, on the costume now, it is all pixelated in a very 1995 style. So could you tell me how all that came about? What were the discussions with the EBU, with Microsoft? How did you decide upon approaching it that way?
You know what? I already forgot that they did that. Yeah, so you can't have like whatever logos like that, like a Windows logo. For some reason the name is fine, but the logo, I mean, that's just like crossing the bar. So then they asked us to blur it. But I think that was fine because it's such a meme because they had to like republish the
video with the effect.
The video and like with the rules applied version where they like blur it, and I think it's because it's so silly because there's minimal blurring, so you still see the colors of the logo, and you know that it says Windows and there's a logo and the cap and the T-shirt. So it's so silly that I think it's actually super funny, and I hope they would have more rules like this so one could make light of them. I think it worked out for us pretty well because it was like in the news and stuff.
So who was it that said you had to do that? Was it the EBU, or did that come from literally Microsoft themselves? Or
no, I think Microsoft, they love the whole idea of Windows 95, man. I wonder why. But the EBU was like, no, you have to covering up. So I think the nudity is fine, right? Or did we also have to cover the crotch? Well, I mean, we love to push boundaries. So now we know that. Now we know the rules.
Was the name ever in question, or was that always? It was always going to be Windows 95, man.
Well, we did have to check with the EBU, but the EBU said that the name is fine. So,
did you have a backup plan if they said no?
I think there were some ideas that were floating around, but I think like serious ones, no. But like joke ones, like sure there were ideas, but it wasn't an issue. Gladly for the EBU, because that would have been like the silliest thing ever. I think.
Let's do the main meat of this then. Let's go and talk about the Eurovision Song Contest outside of your work and just about your sort of thoughts and feelings generally. So let's go right back to the very beginning. When was the first time you remember watching the Eurovision Song Contest?
Wow. Wait, I remember that was when we won was it 2006? And I was super tired, but I loved Lordi. But I was so tired that I went to bed before they announced the results. So I went to bed, silly me, and I missed the whole, Finland's the winner. But that's the first thing I remember. I think probably many Finns share this experience. Finns my age.
Well, yes, it's winning the Eurovision Song Contest is a very memorable moment. After, obviously, that very first memory, almost the first time you actually remember properly being invested in the Eurovision Song Contest, actually, watching it all, being sort of, actively going, yes, I'd like to watch this.
I think in when I was in high school, it started. I have a friend, one of my best friends, and we always watch together. So we always went. We were at my parents' and we watched it, and we still do. So I think that was since high school. So I've been interested in the whole competition for a long time, and then I was especially interested in the UMK around 2016. So that's when that sort of took over. But Eurovision, that's been since high school, I think.
How has your view of the Eurovision Song Contest sort of evolved since then to now? Because it changed a lot since then to now. Obviously, you've grown up and changed as a person, and I think public perception has really changed, especially in the last couple of years since we've had some really big hits come out of the Eurovision Song Contest. So how for you has your sort of journey of perception of the contest altered?
Well, I'm more of a hardcore fan. I think previously I just enjoyed the aesthetic and the music and stuff like that. But now I'm more of a crazy person. So I listen to all of the songs whenever they're released, and I'm more, I would say, invested. And I also think the competition has grown. I mean, all of the the lights and everything that you use, special effects. I mean, it's gotten more interesting, I think. So, and much bigger also. So I think I'm more of a fan now than I was before, but probably also because of my work. But yeah, no, I'm definitely more invested now than I was earlier.
Yeah, and obviously the latest contest, as we've spoken about, was in Liverpool, right here in the UK, and Finland did come second. So what were your sort of thoughts overall on Liverpool 2023 as an event, as a show?
I loved it, but it was a traumatic experience, let me tell you. I was living in America when that thing aired, and I was together, we were doing like a road trip, right? And I was together with my Finnish family, and then some relatives from Sweden came over, like from my brother and his wife, and we were in this hotel room, and we were watching the final together. And we Finns were on one couch, and then the two Swedes were on another couch. And then it was like this, it was the tension in the air. I mean, you could cut it with whatever. It was there, and then it was so close. And I remember the feeling like when they were like, and the winner is Sweden, Loreen. And then she does that thing with her nails, and she's crying, and oh, how surprising. I was like, oh, this sucks. This is terrible. We came so close. But that's a little bit of a trauma, but I'm very happy for Loreen. But no, the competition, you did super well. Everything I loved it. I think it was well organized.
Yeah, the thing is, I think the previous year when the UK came second, it was very different to that for all of us, because one, we were just very happy to get any points at all, let alone second.
Right.
And then also because it was Ukraine were winning, and we're all very, very sympathetic. I think everyone just kind of had the reaction of, oh, that's great. We've come second. Ukraine have won. Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think any of us really seriously thought we were going to host at that point either. I don't know what we thought was going to happen, but it's certainly no one really thought until a few weeks after, oh, we're going to end up doing it, aren't we?
Right. I mean, it was nice that in one way it was nice that Ukraine won, because that was, I get that. But now, like, when Sweden won, I mean, my God, they won, like, what? They had won 6 times before. So then there was, like, no, from my side, I felt like no, like, oh, great, it's Sweden's turn to win, because they've won, like, so many times. So I was like, no, this was Finland's chance. So I you know what, Benjamin, Windy Bank, I wish Sweden would have, released Loreen from her Eurovision cryo chamber any other year, not 2023, but they did, so that's fine.
So do you put the fact Finland didn't win on Loreen being there and obviously just storming that vote, or do you put it on, as many other Finns do, the jury's doing it a fix?
I think if Loreen had not been there, I doubt there would have been an actor, an artist that could have beat Garia. I think the juries, I think they should have less power, but they were doing their jobs, so I'm not like hating on juries. It's the system that sort of needs fixing. But I definitely think if, let's say Sweden sent Marcus and Martinez that year, I think Garia would have won. I think it's like the thing, Sweden probably strategically sends Loreen every, 5 to 6 years to compete for victory when they feel like, oh, it's our time to win again. I bet they're going to send her again in 2031 with the new song.
If we talk about Finland at Eurovision, then do you have any songs which haven't necessarily done as well as you would like that you think really deserve to do far better?
Monsters, I think it was a bop. I don't maybe agree on everything in terms of the stage show, but I did think that Monsters was a fairly good pop song. Marry Me, there was something in the lyrics I think I was a little iffy about, but I think it was a catchy tune. Then there's that Waldo's People thing that's always playing on the radio here, and it's like an earworm. I think there's a bunch. And then, Katri Helena, I think she's been representing us a few times. I like all of her songs categorically. So there's many that I like that haven't maybe done super well.
I think Finland are on the up. I think UMK, as I think you're well aware, has amassed a very quick and very strong reputation, especially since 2020 when you went back to different artists in the national final. And say a strong national final gives you strong entries.
Oh, I think UMK has come, such a long way from what it was way back when. I think we're one of the strongest national finals, probably the most interesting, at least one of the most interesting national finals out there. And I think the UMK songs, even though only one wins, I think the songs are like great. I mean, I listen to probably more UMK songs than I listen to Eurovision songs, if that makes sense. But yeah, so I think UMK has come a long way. And that song, I think that Ylivoimainen, that was like the biggest hit, in a long time in Finland, and I'm sure in some countries abroad. And that opening number, the songs, but also like the staging and the dance and everything, choreography by Reija Värve. I mean, that was beautiful right there. What a way to open a national final.
If we think about all of the Eurovisions you have watched, do you have, and we're not going to talk about Cha-Cha-Cha here because we've already talked about it, and that's the cop-out answer. Do you have a favourite moment from sort of your experience of watching Eurovision, whether that be a song or a thing the presenter said, or an interview, or an incident, or an Australian getting the bottom out in front of Jamala, whatever it may be?
My favorite Eurovision that I remember was in 2022 when it was in, I think, Italy, in Turin, right? Yeah, and that year I liked so many of the songs, because there was that one, the Snap one, and then Slow Mo, Chanel. I think that was like one of my, probably like my all-time favorite. And then you had the Spaceman. So I think that year was a really, really good year. And I think I vaguely remember that the hosts were kind of funny with that, like unintentionally. Like there was something funny about the hosts. And then there was that incident with the sun that it didn't work on stage or something. So it sort of, there were a lot of, comedic elements that year in regards of like Italy hosting. So I think I remember that year for sure.
The day when we got the news through that the stage had broken, I'm never going to forget. It was an absolutely mental day. But, and that contest, it had a whole sort of chaotic energy of everything kind of only being held together with a bit of sellotape. I believe Laura Pausini collapsed halfway through it and just vanished for half the show.
No, well, that's funny. I think it's sort of, and I've heard from like our team that there was a lot of chaos going on behind the scenes. And of course, I'm a fan of comedy, so I find this to be just entertaining, that you're in Italy and then they're Italians and then nothing works and you have the instructions the wrong way, so the stage falls into pieces. And I think it's just, I think it's great. I wish that would happen more.
So, it certainly was a memorable contest for many, many reasons, not just for the UK coming second. And you entering the Rasmus, by the way, which seemed to come out of nowhere.
I quite agree. I think that's what Finland said. Collectively, nobody saw this coming, and yet we elected them, and I think we were 21st, 26th, somewhere like not that great. I remember I wasn't involved in the production in any scale, but I remember watching. I was like, it's interesting, an interesting choice with the balloons and stuff. And then there was like a racism scandal in terms of the lyrics, and that's always wonderful. That's what you want, to have a scandal like that around your entry. So maybe not the best year, but I think we got right on track after.
Do you reckon that the fact you'd had Blind Channel the previous year and it had done so well, sixth, very well, influenced the fact the Rasmus won another rock band straight after?
Because I think there is a tendency where you look at, okay, how did we do last year? And that's, if we did well, which we did with Blind Channel, people are like, oh, well, I guess it's a good strategy to send something that's akin to what we sent last year. So I think probably there was a little bit of that. Will be interesting to see how like this year goes. Yeah, definitely. I think if you have success with any artist that you send, I think the public always thinks that, or at least a part of the public thinks that, well, might be good to send something similar to that.
So thinking about Finland at Eurovision, do you have just a personal favourite Finnish Eurovision entry that isn't Cha 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 by Carrier?
My favorite, if you can choose, Gary. Is it boring if I say Katri Helena because I love her so much? Maybe it is a tad boring.
I think that counts.
Well, you know what? I am going to say, wait, I'm allowed to say, okay, Windows 95 Man. There you go.
Okay. I mean, you can say that, certainly. And if we think about other countries now, do you have a favourite ever performance from a country that isn't Finland?
I don't know if that's my favorite, but this is what I remember. I think she's called Blanche, and the song was called City Lights.
2017 Belgium, yep.
Okay, wow. Okay, impressive.
4th place.
Wow, you like a machine. Yes, that one I really, really enjoyed. And then I loved the French entry with the Voila, And then when I was a kid, we always listened to Dancing Lascia Tumbai, so I'm going to have to give that a shout out. Oh, Arcade, I like that one. Oh, Je me casse, Destiny. 10 years. I don't even know how to pronounce that.
Daddy and Gakna Matnit.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, there you go. Those were some that I enjoy.
We've talked about Finnish Eurovision entries, we talked about other countries' Eurovision entries, but we've not talked about Eurovision winners. Do we have a favourite Eurovision winner?
Well, as much as it, pains me because I have to relive what happened with Gary and Lorraine, I have to say I really love Tattoo as a song, and I do love Euphoria. So, I don't know, there's something in those songs that I really, really love, but I also loved Arcade, like a lot. I've listened to that a lot. So I think it's between Duncan Lawrence and Loreen.
Okay, let's talk about this year's Eurovision Song Contest then. So you said you have listened to all the songs in advance. You made that very clear, so we can have a bit of a discussion about it.
Sure. I'm involved in a program where there's a panel of people who analyze all of the Eurovision entries this year. So I've heard all of the songs, and yeah, this year is not my favorite, I have to be honest. There are a few songs that I like. I think my favorite is from Belle, the one, When the Party is
Musty,
Over.
yeah.
That one. Yes, that one. I really like that one. And then, yeah, well, I think that's my favorite.
Okay, so your favourite is Belgium, but do you think that's the one that's going to win? Or do you have your eyes on something else?
Yes, I have my eyes on Windows 95 Man. But aside from our representative, it's a weird year. I think Nemo with the Code could win. I'm not a huge fan of Rim Tim Tagidim from what's Baby Pasta or whatever it's called, something. That one, yeah, I don't think it will win. I don't think it's that strong of a song. My brother's wife is half Croatian, so I'm gonna have to be careful here. But I don't think it ever works. Like if something does well last year, I think trying to imitate that this year, I don't think is a road to victory.
Well, this be a bit negative then. Who do you think is going to come last at this year's Eurovision? Who do you think it's going to be?
Well, it's always Germany or you guys. Sorry, that was a little rough. Either Germany, you guys, or what about Latvia?
Why don't we simplify the question and go, who's going to come last overall in the semi-finals? 37th place, so no big five allowed, but who is ending up right at the bottom of the table?
I think it's going to be San Marino. Maybe Albania. I don't even know what Albania has.
Titan, Bessa.
Okay. I'm going to go with one of those. I'm going to say San Marino or Albania or Moldova.
Now I want you to think about, say, somehow, potentially in the future, you became very important in ULE and in UMK.
I love this.
and then you became very important in the preparations for the Eurovision Song Contest, and then somehow you ended up taking the top job and replaced Martin Österdahl. What is the one rule you would make for the next Eurovision Song Contest if you were there right at the top?
Well, Benjamin, this will happen in a few years, in 2 years specifically. And then when it happens, you are not allowed to send Loreen more than 2 times to the Eurovision Song Contest. And this is not like country specific. I'm not talking Sweden here. I'm just saying in general, if any country wants to send an artist called Loreen, they can't do that if an artist called Loreen has already competed 2 times.
Okay, right. That's a very, very Finnish answer, I believe. Shall we try remove a rule? One rule which currently exists that you're going to just get rid of?
I think that you can't use anything like playback or stuff like that, because that's just not a modern rule.
Well, we have pre-recorded backing vocals, don't we? It's just the live vocal has to be live.
Yeah, I would
You'd let them mime.
relax those rules, let's say.
That is certainly controversial, since most Eurovision fans, especially in the community, I see a lot, hate the fact that even pre-recorded backing vocals are allowed. So I think you're going to wind a few people up there.
Well, that's what I do.
Personally then, where do you see the future of the Eurovision Song Contest heading in the next few years? Like, what do you realistically think is going to happen and change about it?
Well, that is a tough question because, the political stuff, there's a war going on in Gaza. And I think Israel's participation is going to be a big question mark annually. And it's going to be something that the EBU has to struggle with. So I think that's going to be like looming in the background for the foreseeable future. I don't know. I think all concerns that I have are related to like safety and, war, be it between Israel and Palestine or Russia and Ukraine. So I don't know. I think the concept is so good and it's so important to people. So I think the competition is going to be like fine. It's going to go on every year. But I think it's going to be really tough for the EBU especially now with the Israel-Palestine situation. I don't know how they're going to solve it. Maybe they're just going to say like, keep saying that line about Eurovision not being a political event. But I think, I don't know. I think people will get tired of hearing that after a while. So that's a good question. I have no answers.
And then moving on to something a little bit more self-centered, where do you personally see your future, the Eurovision Song Contest, heading?
Well, I hope I get to work closely with it. As I said, my favorite thing so far has been like doing the English commentary for UMK. Maybe I'll switch it up. Maybe I'll represent Finland someday. That would be fun. How about that? And then after I've won for Finland, I will take Martin Österdahl's job after that. So that's my plan.
Okay. Well, we'll see if that ever comes to pass.
Well, I would love to thank you for having me on the wonderful Vote for the Music podcast. I have been a fan of it for hours now since I learned about it. So I'm an avid listener, Benjamin Windybank. And also, what a cool last name. I mean, Windybank, it sounds like you could give me a hell of a rate on my mortgage. So this has been great. And I hope your listeners enjoy this very special episode.
Yes, and thank you so very much for taking the time out to speak to me and to all our listeners here on Vote for the Music, the Eurovision podcast. Now, of course, we will be back tomorrow as we begin our quickfire reviews of the first half of the second semi-final of this year's Eurovision Song Contest, which will be taking place on the 9th of May. We will begin with Malta's entry, who of course are opening that second semi-final. So until then, remember to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, or wherever else you get your podcasts. If you're listening to us on YouTube, click that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, or leave a comment detailing your thoughts on everything which went on in this interview. You can also interact with us on our Q&As and polls on Spotify as well if you wish to do that. But until the next time, thank you so very much for listening, and remember, to vote for the music.
This is to music first, always.
We are unstoppable.
open the frontiers to make people meet people.
Music is not fireworks. Music is feeling.
You're good to go.
Thank you, vote for the music!
This is Vote for the Music, the Eurovision podcast.